Section 15 of Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Anne Boulay. Poems of American History, the Colonial Era. Chapter 4, The Dutch at New Amsterdam, Part 1. On the 4th day of April, 1609, there put out from the port of Amsterdam a little craft of about 80 tons, called the Half Moon. It had been chartered by the Dutch East India Company to search for the Northwest Passage. Its captain was Henry Hudson, and on September 3rd he cast anchor inside Sandy Hook. Henry Hudson's Quest, 1609. Out from the harbor of Amsterdam, the Half Moon turned her prow to sea. The coast of Norway dropped behind, yet northward still kept she. Through the drifting fog and the driving snow, where never before man dared to go. "O pilot, shall we find the strait that leads to the Eastern Sea? A waste of ice before us lies, we must turn back," said he. Westward they steered their tiny bark, westward through weary weeks they sped, till the cold gray strand of a stranger land loomed through the mist ahead. League after league they hugged the coast, and their captain never left his post. "O pilot, see you yet the strait that leads to the Eastern Sea?" "I see but the rocks and the barren shore, no strait is there," quoth he. They sailed to the north, they sailed to the south, and at last they rounded an arm of sand, which held the sea from a harbor's mouth, the loveliest in the land. They kept their course across the bay, and the shore before them fell away. "O pilot, see you not the strait that leads to the Eastern Sea?" "Hold the rudder true! Praise Christ Jesu, the strait is here," said he. Onward they glide with wind and tide, past marshes gray and crags sun-kissed. They skirt the sills of the green-clad hills, and meadows white with mist. But alas, the hope and the brave, brave dream, for rock and shallow bar the stream. "O pilot, can this be the strait that leads to the Eastern Sea?" "Nay, captain, nay, 'tis not this way, turn back we must," said he. Full sad was Hudson's heart as he turned the Half Moon's prow to the south once more. He saw no beauty in crag or hill, no beauty in curving shore, for they shut him away from that fabled main he sought his whole life long in vain. "O pilot, say, can there be a strait that leads to the Eastern Sea?" "God's crypt is sealed, 'twill stand revealed in his own good time," quoth he. Burton Egbert Stevenson. A few days were spent in exploring the bay, and on September 6th occurred the only fatality that marked the voyage. A seaman named John Coleman, with 4 sailors, was sent out in a small boat to sound the Narrows, and encountered some Indians, who sent a flight of arrows toward the strangers. One of the arrows pierced Coleman's throat, killing him. The death of Coleman, September 6, 1609. "'Twas Hewitt spoke, the Half Moon's mate, and they who Holland's ship of state compassed with wisdom listening sate. Discovery's near extinguished spark flared up into a blaze, when Mannahatta's virgin hills, enriched by autumn's days, first fell on our impatient sight, and soothed us with a strange delight. Bidden by fevered trade, our keel had ploughed unbeaten deeps, from many a perfume-laden isle to the dark land that sleeps forever in its winter robe, the unsocial hermit of the globe. But we, who sought for China's strand, by ocean ways untried, forgot our mission when we cast our anchor in a tide that kissed a gem too wondrous fair for any Eastern sea to wear. Entranced, we saw the golden woods slope gently to the sands, the grassy meads, the oaks that dwarfed their kin of other lands, and from the shore the balmy wind blew sweeter than the spice of Ind. As he whose eyes, though open wide, are fixed upon a dream, so Coleman, one who long had held our Hudson's warm esteem, gazed on the gorgeous scene and said, "Ere even's shade are overspread, proudly our flag on yonder height shall tell of Holland's gain. proclaiming her to all the earth the sovereign of the main. And quickly from the half-moon's bow we turned the long-boat's yielding prow. The measured flashing of the oars broke harshly on the ear, and I asked for lips were mute, what Holland hearts should fear, for true it is our hearts were soft, save his, who held the flag aloft. And suddenly our unshaped dread took direful form and sound, for from a near nook's rocky shade, swift as pursuing hound, a savage shallop sped, to hold from stranger feet that strand of gold. And rageful cries disturbed the peace that on the waters slept, and echo whispered on the hills, as though an army crept, with flinty axe and brutal blade, through the imperforate forest shade. What, are ye cravens? Colman said, for each had shipped his oar. He waved the flag, for Netherland, pull for yon jutting shore! Then prone he fell within the boat, a flinty arrow through his throat. And now full many a stealthy skiff shot out into the bay, and swiftly, sadly, pulled we back to where the half-moon lay. But he was dead, our master wept, he smiled, brave heart, as though he slept. Then to the seaward breeze our sail, with woeful hearts we threw, and anchored near a sandy strip that looks o'er ocean blue, and there we kissed and buried him, while surges sang his funeral hymn. And many a pitying glance we gave, and many a prayer we said, as from that grave we turned and left the dark sea with her dead. For, God of waves, none could repress one choking thought, the loneliness. Thomas Frost. Hudson ascended the river to a point a little above the present town of Albany, then turned back and returned to Holland. His report of the rich country he had discovered was received with enthusiasm there, and preparations were begun on an extensive scale to colonize the new country. Dutch voyagers explored all the adjacent coasts, among the most active being Adrian Block. Adrian Block's Song. July, 1615. Hard a port, now close to shore sail, starboard now, and drop your foresail. See, boys, what yon bay discloses, what yon open bay discloses, where the breeze so gently blows is heaven's own land of ruddy roses. Past the cormorant we sail, past the rippling beaver tail, green with summer, red with flowers, green with summer, fresh with showers, sweet with song and red with flowers, is this new-found land of ours. Roses close above the sand, roses on the trees on land. I shall take this land for my land, rosy beach and rosy highland, and I name it Roses Island. Edward Everett Hale. End of section 15.